Katie Anderson's energy drink-fueled streaming session hit hour 6 when her quantum interference detector started going haywire. At first, she thought it was just another glitch in her experimental setup, a common occurrence when you're running quantum mechanics experiments from your bedroom at 3 a.m. Her chat, mostly fellow physics enthusiasts and late-night lurkers, watched as she adjusted her equipment. "Okay, chat, either I finally lost it, or we're picking up some seriously weird quantum signatures," Katie said, pushing her thick-rimmed glasses up her nose. "These patterns don't match anything in our database." The detector's display showed oscillating waves that seemed to dance across her monitor, forming patterns that defied conventional quantum mechanics. Katie's viewers started flooding the chat with theories, ranging from plausible to absurd. She was about to call it a night when the patterns suddenly organized themselves into a clear signal. "Holy shit," she whispered, forgetting about her stream's no-cursing policy. "This isn't random interference. This is a message." The signal repeated itself, a complex series of quantum states that somehow carried information. Katie's hands flew across her keyboard, running the pattern through various decryption algorithms she'd developed for her quantum computing research. Her viewers watched in real time as she worked, the chat falling unusually quiet. After 20 minutes of intense coding and muttered calculations, text began appearing on her screen. The message was simple but world-shattering. "Greetings, Earth. We come in peace." Katie stared at her screen, her heart pounding. "Chat, I think we just intercepted first contact." She paused, reading the rest of the message as it decoded. But something's wrong. These transmission methods, they're incredibly primitive for quantum communication. It's like they're using quantum Morse code when we've had quantum broadband for decades. Her viewer count suddenly spiked as clips of her stream started circulating online. Within minutes, her usual audience of a few hundred ballooned to thousands. That's when her phone started buzzing. First with Twitter notifications, then with a call from an unlisted number. "Miss Anderson," a stern voice said when she answered. "This is General Roberts from the National Security Agency. I need you to terminate your stream immediately." Katie's hand hovered over her keyboard. "With all due respect, General, this is too big to cover up. The clips are already going viral." She switched her phone to speaker mode. "Besides, don't you think it's interesting that their quantum tech is so basic?" There was a long pause on the other end. "Miss Anderson, are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that while they think they're making first contact with a pre-quantum civilization, they've actually just exposed their technological limitations to the entire internet." Katie grinned at her camera. "The aliens think they're the advanced ones, but they're using quantum technology that we would consider ancient." The general's sigh was audible even through the phone speaker. "Stand by for a secure team to reach your location. And Miss Anderson, keep streaming. Let's see what else our visitors reveal about themselves." As government vehicles converged on her suburban home, Katie kept decoding the alien transmission. The message contained what they clearly thought was advanced scientific knowledge, theories and principles that Earth had surpassed decades ago. Their attempts at impressive technological displays were almost cute in their simplicity. "Chat," Katie said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I think we're about to give the galaxy's supposed advanced civilization the surprise of their lifetime. And you're all here to witness it." The quantum detector continued receiving the alien transmission, each decoded section revealing more about their technological level. Earth had spent decades maintaining the appearance of a developing civilization, hiding their quantum revolution behind a facade of primitive technology. Now, thanks to one insomniac teenage streamer, that facade was about to crumble in the most spectacular way possible. The first contact humanity had long prepared for was finally happening, just not in the way anyone had expected. And it was being broadcast live on Twitch. The United Nations Assembly Hall buzzed with tension as Dr. Mason Bradley watched his daughter Emma play Quantum Crusaders on her handheld gaming device. He should have left her with a sitter, but after his wife's passing last year, he hated being apart from her. Besides, no one would notice one quiet 12-year-old during humanity's first official alien contact. The Confederation representatives are approaching the building, an aide announced. Mason straightened his tie, glancing at Emma. Sweetie, remember what we talked about. Best behavior, and keep my key C game in sleep mode, Emma finished, rolling her eyes. I know, Dad. I helped you design the quantum processor in it, remember? He smiled despite his nervousness. Emma had inherited both his intelligence and her mother's sass. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, he knew today's meeting was more theater than diplomacy. Humanity playing technological possum on a galactic stage. But one wrong move could expose decades of careful secrecy. The massive doors swung open. The alien delegation entered, their crystalline environmental suits catching the light. Leading them was Ambassador Vextal, a tall figure whose transparent helmet revealed iridescent scales and multiple eye stalks. Greetings, primitive but promising ones, the ambassador's translation device projected. We come to elevate your species. Mason bit back a laugh. Their translation tech was using basic quantum entanglement, practically Stone Age compared to the neural quantum interface in Emma's gaming device. Everything was going according to protocol until Emma's game chirped. She'd forgotten to engage sleep mode. And the quantum processor came alive, sending ripples through the quantum field. The aliens' translation devices squealed in protest. What is this interference? Ambassador Vextal demanded, eye stalks writhing. Your primitive technologies should not be capable of. The translation cut out completely. Mason watched in horror as every piece of alien technology in the room began to malfunction. Their environmental suits flickered, quantum sensors sparked, and communication devices emitted sounds like dying electronic wails. Emma looked up from her game, eyes wide. Oops. The ambassador's translator sputtered back to life, but now it was translating everything into what sounded like Shakespearean sonnets. What quantum sorcery doth thou possess, earth beings most devious? I can fix it. Emma jumped up, fingers flying across her game's interface. Their quantum field is too rigid. If I just adjust the resonance. Emma. No. Mason reached for the device, but it was too late. The quantum interference cleared instantly, too instantly. Every alien in the room stared at the gaming device in Emma's hands, their expressions showing various degrees of shock, disbelief, and in some cases, fear. That's impossible, one of the alien scientists whispered, their translator working perfectly now. The quantum harmonization alone would require, but your children's entertainment contains. Ambassador Vextal stepped forward, all 4 eye stalks focused on Emma's game. Young one, may I examine your device? Emma looked at her father, who gave a slight nod. She handed over her precious Quantum Crusaders console. The ambassador's hands trembled as they interfaced with the device. This quantum architecture, these computation methods, they violate everything we know about. Dr. Bradley, do all your children possess such advanced technology? Mason cleared his throat. Well, it is last year's model. Most kids have the upgraded version now. The assembly hall erupted in chaos. Alien diplomats huddled in corners, frantically communicating with their homeworlds. The ambassador's eye stalks had tied themselves in a literal knot. Emma tugged on her father's sleeve. Dad, did I just cause an interplanetary incident? No, sweetie. Mason watched as the alien delegation argued amongst themselves, their carefully planned first contact protocol crumbling around them. You just showed the galaxy that they shouldn't underestimate humanity, or our gaming consoles. Somewhere in the commotion, Emma's game chirped again. She'd just beaten her high score. Admiral Zexthor paced the command deck of the Confederation's flagship, his scaled tail lashing with barely contained fury. The holographic display showed Earth rotating peacefully below, mocking him with its apparent vulnerability. First speaker, he addressed the shimmering projection of the Confederation's leader. The humans are lying to us. No species advances from radio signals to quantum manipulation in less than a century. It's impossible. Your assessment matches our fears. The first speaker's ethereal form rippled. You have authorization for Protocol Zero. The humans must not be allowed to retain their technological advantage. Across the void of space, Colonel Jennifer Hayes sat in what appeared to be an abandoned radio telescope facility in Arizona, watching the entire conversation. The Confederation's secure quantum communications were like shouting in a library compared to Earth's quantum monitoring capabilities. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rivera's voice came through her neural link. "The alien fleet is moving. 5,000 ships just dropped their stealth fields." Jennifer smiled, taking a sip of her coffee. "And how many are still cloaked?" "Another 7,000, currently positioning themselves around Earth's major population centers." "Perfect." She set down her mug, its surface displaying real-time tactical data. "They're following standard Confederation assault protocols. Time to show them why humans write better algorithms." She interfaced with Earth's quantum defense grid, disguised as obsolete satellite networks and old space junk. With a few neural commands, she began feeding the alien fleet carefully crafted sensor data. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Zex Thor watched in satisfaction as his forces moved into position. Status of Earth's defensive capabilities. "Primitive, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "We're detecting only basic missile silos and crude energy shields around their major cities." "Sir," another officer called out. "New contact. Detecting a massive energy signature near their moon." Zex Thor's scales bristled. "Configuration. It appears to be, sir, it's showing characteristics of a Nexus-class warship. But that's impossible. Only the Confederation has that technology." Back in Arizona, Jennifer fought to keep from laughing as she watched the alien fleet scramble to respond to her phantom signals. The Nexus-class warship was actually a clever manipulation of quantum states around a defunct weather satellite. "Deploy second-stage phantom fleet," she subvocalized to her team. "Let's give them something to really worry about." Admiral Zex Thor's command deck erupted in chaos as new signatures appeared throughout the solar system. Impossible readings showed human ships using technology that shouldn't exist, vanishing and reappearing at will. "They're toying with us," he realized with growing horror. His mighty stealth fleet, pride of the Confederation, was being led around like a child's puppet. Jennifer stood, stretching casually as she watched the alien fleet tie itself in knots trying to track her phantom signatures. "Time to end Act 1, she announced to her team. "Deploy the butterfly net." Across Earth's orbit, cleverly hidden quantum processors activated. Every piece of space debris, every old satellite, even the reflective paint on legitimate satellites, began emitting precisely calculated quantum fields. On the Confederation flagship, alarms blared. "Admiral," the tactical officer's voice cracked. "We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures everywhere. Our ships, they're becoming quantum locked with Earth's orbital debris." Zex Thor watched in helpless rage as his mighty fleet became ensnared in an invisible web of quantum connections. Any attempt to move risked destroying their ship's quantum cores. "Status report," Jennifer asked, already knowing the answer. Lieutenant Rivera grinned. 12,000 alien ships successfully immobilized, Mom. They're not going anywhere without our permission." Jennifer nodded, sending a neural command that activated a direct quantum channel to Admiral Zex Thor's ship. Her hologram appeared on his command deck, causing several officers to jump in surprise. "Admiral," she said pleasantly, holding up her coffee mug. "I believe this is the part where we negotiate. Would you like some coffee? I find it helps when discussing unconditional surrender." The mighty admiral of the Confederation's fleet could only stare as his invasion force hung helpless in space, outmaneuvered by what he had dismissed as a primitive species. And somewhere in orbit, a defunct weather satellite continued broadcasting an image of a warship that never existed. Colonel Hayes watched the holographic display as Admiral Zex Thor's scaled face shifted through several shades of purple. Behind her, 20 of Earth's best quantum hackers lounged in what looked like a vintage internet cafe, complete with faded posters and ancient desktop computers. Your tactics are unprecedented, Zexthor admitted grudgingly. But you cannot maintain this quantum lock forever. Our reinforcements. You mean the 30,000 ships gathering in the Oort cloud? Jennifer took another sip of coffee. The ones trying to be stealthy while using quantum signatures as subtle as a fireworks display. In the cafe behind her, a teenager with blue hair raised her hand. Hey, Colonel, permission to mess with their sensors a bit. I've got this cool idea involving cat memes. Granted, Alice. Keep it professional. Mostly. The alien admiral watched in mounting confusion as his fleet's sensor displays began showing impossible readings. Earth's defensive capabilities seemed to change every few minutes. One moment their sensors detected a massive orbital defense network. The next it vanished, replaced by what appeared to be pictures of small Earth felines demanding food. What manner of warfare is this? He demanded. Jennifer leaned back in her chair. Admiral, have you ever heard of chess? The primitive strategic board game your species plays. Primitive. Jennifer smiled. Let me demonstrate something. She nodded to one of her hackers, who typed a few commands on what looked like a computer from the 1990s. Suddenly, every screen on the Confederation flagship displayed a chessboard. Pieces began moving in complex patterns, each one representing actual military assets in space. Your move, Admiral, Jennifer said. But I should warn you, humans have been practicing this game for thousands of years. Zexthor's tactical officer interrupted. Sir, we're detecting multiple defense platforms emerging from Earth's moon. Impossible, Zexthor hissed. Our scans showed the moon was uninhabited. Check, Jennifer said calmly. On the virtual chessboard, her queen threatened the Admiral's king. But as Zexthor moved to counter the lunar threat, the platforms vanished. Instead, his sensors now showed massive energy signatures rising from Earth's oceans. The humans are using quantum illusions, one of his scientists realized. But the power required to maintain such deceptions across these distances would be impossible with your understanding of quantum mechanics, Jennifer finished. Checkmate in 3 moves, by the way. The Admiral stared at the chessboard, finally understanding. Every phantom signal, every sensor ghost, every impossible reading was part of an elaborate strategy. The humans weren't just fighting. They were playing a game their species had mastered over centuries. Colonel, one of the hackers called out, they're trying to establish a new quantum communication channel. Want me to show them the dancing cat video? No need, Tommy. Let them talk. Jennifer's eyes never left the Admiral's hologram. I believe they're about to suggest a diplomatic solution. Zexthor's scales had turned a pale lavender, a sign of resignation in his species. Your species, you hide your true capabilities behind primitive appearances. Even now, I suspect we haven't seen your actual defensive systems. Would you like to? Jennifer gestured to Alice, who typed a single command. For just 1 second, the Confederation's sensors showed Earth's real quantum defense network. The display lasted only a moment before returning to normal, but it was enough to make several alien officers faint. By the first stars, Zexthor whispered, your entire civilization is. A quantum computer larger than your fleet could comprehend, Jennifer finished. Now, about that diplomatic solution. I suggest we start with your force's immediate withdrawal. After that, maybe we can teach you some better chess strategies. As the Admiral's hologram flickered out, Jennifer turned to her team of hackers. Good work, everyone. Alice, that cat meme was inspired. Tommy, excellent timing with the ocean signatures. What now, Colonel? Alice asked, already queuing up more cat videos. Jennifer smiled, studying the chessboard where her quantum pieces had thoroughly outmaneuvered the Confederation's forces. Now we prepare for the real game to begin. because soon they'll realize that everything we've shown them so far was just the tutorial level. Dr. Mason Bradley stood on stage at the hastily convened Galactic Science Summit, facing an audience of the Confederation's most brilliant minds. Behind him was something that made the aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats, an original Nintendo 64 console from 1996. "Distinguished colleagues," he began, plugging in the ancient gaming system, "you've all been asking how humanity achieved quantum supremacy so quickly. The truth is both embarrassing and beautiful. We did it by accident, while playing games." The alien scientists muttered among themselves as Mason held up a cartridge of Super Mario 64. This game, released when we still thought quantum computing was theoretical, contains more quantum processing power than the entire Confederation fleet. He inserted the cartridge. We just didn't know it at the time. The massive screen behind him lit up with colorful 3D graphics that seemed primitive by modern standards. Several alien scientists coughed visibly. "You see," Mason continued, opening the quantum field analyzer, "our early 3D games accidentally created quantum tunneling effects in their processors. Every time a kid saved their game progress, they were unknowingly performing quantum state preservation on a massive scale." The analyzer's display showed complex quantum patterns emanating from the console. The alien scientists' dismissive attitudes turned to shock as they recognized principles their civilization had spent centuries trying to master. "But that's impossible," protested a senior Arxian physicist. "The quantum coherence needed for such operations would require fun." Mason interrupted. "It required fun. While your civilizations approached quantum mechanics with rigid methodology, we approached it by asking, how can we make Mario jump higher?" He gestured to Emma, who walked onto stage carrying her modern gaming device. "By the time we actually discovered what we'd done, our gaming industry had accidentally solved quantum computing's biggest challenges. My daughter's generation grew up literally playing with quantum mechanics." Emma connected her device to the analyzer. The quantum patterns it displayed made several alien scientists gasp audibly. "Your children's entertainment contains computational power exceeding our most advanced research facilities," one scientist whispered in awe. "Yes," Mason agreed, "because we never told them it was supposed to be difficult. They just wanted better graphics and faster load times." He brought up a split screen showing the evolution of Earth's gaming consoles alongside the development of quantum technology. The correlation was undeniable. While you were building quantum computers in Stereolabs, we were accidentally building them in teenagers' bedrooms. Every gaming console became a quantum research station. Every player became an unwitting quantum physicist. To demonstrate, he loaded up a modern game on Emma's device. This racing game, its physics engine uses quantum calculations that your scientists deemed impossible. At Farming Simulator, it's processing more quantum data than your entire civilian network. The alien scientists watched in stunned silence as Emma casually manipulated quantum states that their civilization had only theorized about, all while trying to beat her high score. "But the real breakthrough," Mason continued, "came from our multiplayer games. Millions of players, connected through quantum networks they didn't even know they were using, solving complex quantum problems while trash-talking each other." He pulled up statistics showing the global gaming network's quantum processing power. Several alien scientists had to be helped to their seats. "So yes," Mason concluded, "humanity achieved in decades what took others millennia. Not because we're smarter, but because we never realized we were doing something impossible. We were just trying to have fun." Emma's game chirped. She'd won another race. The quantum patterns her victory created would have won her a science prize in the Confederation. "Now," Mason smiled, holding up a second controller, "who wants to play Mario Kart? I warn you, though, the quantum entanglement effects can get a bit intense on Rainbow Road." The audience stared at the offered controller like it was both a holy relic and a weapon of mass destruction. Finally, a young alien scientist stepped forward, eyes bright with curiosity. I would like to learn this gaming." Mason grinned. Welcome to the future of quantum physics. Player 2 has entered the game. The Confederation fleet hung motionless in Earth's orbit, their quantum cores ensnared in Colonel Hayes's intricate trap. Admiral Zexthor had spent 6 hours trying to find a way out, but each attempt only revealed new layers of humanity's deception. Status report, he demanded, scales now a pale gray from stress. Sir, we're detecting new quantum signatures. They're everywhere. The main screen flickered to life, showing Katie Anderson's familiar face. The teenage streamer who had first intercepted their signals was now broadcasting to every ship in the fleet. Hi everyone. Welcome to my special intergalactic stream, she waved cheerfully. Today we're going to demonstrate some cool quantum tricks that your ships can do. Don't worry, we asked them nicely first. Admiral Zexthor's eyes widened. Lock down all systems. She's just a child. She can't possibly. First up, Katie continued, typing on her quantum interface. Let's try something pretty. I call this one Aurora Borealis in space. The entire Confederation fleet began to glow in shifting patterns of light, their quantum shields reprogrammed to create spectacular waves of color across space. Several ships' captains reported their crews were actually applauding. You're manipulating our most advanced defensive systems to create light shows, Zexthor asked in disbelief. Oh, that's just the warm-up, Katie grinned. Colonel Hayes said I could have some fun before the main event. Speaking of which, she pressed another key. Suddenly, every weapon system in the fleet transformed. Missile launchers became fountains of sparkling quantum energy. Laser arrays turned into spectacular prism displays. The flagship's main cannon was now producing a continuous stream of holographic butterflies. This is impossible, the tactical officer whispered. Our weapons are based on fundamental physical principles. You can't just change the rules of physics, Katie finished. Actually, we can. Humanity's been doing it since we first tried to make video game graphics look cooler. Now for my next trick. Wait. Admiral Zexthor held up a hand. Young one, you possess power that our civilization can barely comprehend, and you use it to create beauty. Katie's expression softened. Well, yeah. What's the point of having amazing technology if you don't make amazing things with it? Watch this. She typed a complex sequence, and suddenly every ship in the fleet was connected in a massive quantum network. Their hulls began resonating in perfect harmony, creating music that spread across space itself. I call this one Symphony of the Stars, Katie announced proudly. And the best part, your ships are actually more efficient now. I optimized their quantum cores while setting up the light show. The Admiral stared at his readings. She was right. Every ship in the fleet was operating at 143% of its previous maximum efficiency. How? He asked simply. The same way humanity does everything cool, Katie shrugged. We played around until it worked. Speaking of which, who wants to join my Quantum Crusaders Guild? I already set up accounts for your entire fleet. Before the Admiral could respond, gaming interfaces appeared on every bridge in the fleet. Several junior officers immediately started creating their characters. Admiral, his tactical officer called out, already customizing his avatar. I believe resistance is both futile and significantly less entertaining than cooperation. Zexthor looked at his own gaming interface, then at Katie's encouraging smile, and finally at the spectacular light show his fleet was creating. Very well, he said, reaching for the controls. Teach us, young one. Show us what humanity truly knows about the universe. Awesome. Katie beamed. Oh, and Admiral, your ships can transform into giant robots now. I got bored during the light show programming and added some upgrades. Hope you don't mind. As if to demonstrate, the flagship began shifting its configuration into something that looked suspiciously like it came from a Japanese anime. Across the fleet, crews cheered as their vessels gained impossible new forms. And in the center of it all, a teenage girl's laughter echoed through space. proving once and for all that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their imagination. The Great Hall of the Confederation's Science Academy had never seen anything like this. Instead of the usual rows of stern-faced scientists, the amphitheater was filled with gaming consoles, holographic displays, and the sound of excited chatter in dozens of alien languages. Dr. Mason Bradley stood at the center, surrounded by a mix of Earth's top gamers and the Confederation's most brilliant minds. Above them, Emma's latest Quantum Crusaders match was being broadcast on massive screens, each frame accompanied by real-time quantum mechanics analysis. Notice how she's manipulating quantum states to achieve that combo move, Mason explained to an enraptured audience. What you call impossible quantum tunneling, we call a speed run technique. A young Arxian scientist raised all three hands. But the computational requirements for such manipulation would exceed. Try not thinking about the math for a moment, Mason interrupted gently. Emma, show them the butterfly effect technique. On screen, Emma's character executed a complex series of moves that literally bent the game's reality. The quantum readings went off the charts, but the actual execution looked as natural as breathing. Impossible, the Arxian gasped. She's rewriting local quantum laws through pure intuition. Nah, Emma called down from her gaming station. I'm just using the secret technique I discovered while trying to beat the final boss. Want me to teach you? The alien scientist practically bounded up the stairs to join her. Within minutes, they were deep in what looked like a gaming session, but was actually an advanced quantum physics seminar. Across the hall, Katie Anderson had set up what she called a quantum LAN party. Confederation scientists and human gamers sat side by side, their gaming sessions generating more useful quantum research data than a century of conventional studies. The key, Katie explained to a group of befuddled alien physicists, is to stop treating quantum mechanics like it's some scary, complicated thing. It's more like a dance partner. You have to feel the rhythm. But our equations, one started to protest. Forget equations for a second, Katie said, handing them controllers. Just play. The understanding comes naturally when you stop overthinking it. Admiral Zexthor, who had been invited as an observer, found himself drawn to a station where Colonel Hayes was teaching alien military officers to play chess. But this wasn't ordinary chess. Each piece manipulated real quantum states on a galactic board. Check, Jennifer said casually, her knight creating a cascade of quantum entanglements. I believe I'm beginning to understand, Zexthor mused, studying the board. Your species turned quantum physics into a game because games are how humans learn best, she finished. We take the impossible and make it playful. Then suddenly, it's not impossible anymore. At another station, a group of alien children were learning Earth video game history, starting with Pong and working their way up. Their parents watched in amazement as their offspring began intuitively grasping quantum concepts that had stumped their civilization's best minds. They're naturals, Mason observed, watching the kids play. Just like human children, they don't know it's supposed to be difficult. The first speaker of the Confederation, who had arrived unannounced, stood beside him. We spent millennia trying to master the quantum realm through rigid discipline. Your species did it by playing games. Mason smiled. The universe has a sense of humor. We just learned to laugh along with it. As if to prove his point, Emma's game character executed another impossible move, leaving quantum contrails that looked suspiciously like a smiley face in spacetime. Dad, she called down. I think I just accidentally discovered a new form of quantum communication. Can we patent it after I finish this level? The first speaker's translator had trouble processing their laughter, but that was okay. Some things transcended language, like the joy of discovery, the thrill of play, and the sight of the galaxy's greatest scientific minds learning quantum physics through Mario Kart. And somewhere in the quantum realm itself, reality smiled as its deepest secrets were uncovered not through solemn study, but through the simple human act of having fun. The inaugural Quantum Olympics opening ceremony was streaming live across the galaxy, with Katie Anderson and Admiral Zexthor sharing hosting duties from the International Space Station's new quantum arena. "Welcome, beings of all species," Katie beamed at the camera, her streaming setup now significantly upgraded from her bedroom days. "Today marks the first ever competition, where gaming meets science at a galactic scale." "Indeed," Zexthor added, his scales now a proud golden hue. "Though I must warn our viewers, Earth's team has agreed to a handicap, as their natural abilities with quantum manipulation are, as humans say, completely broken." The station's massive viewing windows showed Earth below, now surrounded by a spectacular array of quantum-enhanced chips from across the galaxy. Each one had been modified with what Emma Bradley had dubbed the cool factor, unnecessary but beautiful quantum effects that turned space travel into an art form. "Speaking of broken abilities," Katie grinned, "let's check in with our defending champion in Quantum Crusaders, Emma Bradley." The feed switched to Emma's gaming station, where she was teaching a group of alien prodigies her famous butterfly effect technique. At 16, she'd become the galaxy's youngest quantum physics professor, though she insisted her real title was Chief Gaming Officer. "The trick," she was explaining, "is to think of quantum entanglement like a multiplayer combo move. You're not forcing the universe to obey. You're inviting it to play along." Dr. Mason Bradley watched from the judges' panel, seated beside the first speaker and Colonel Hayes. "Did you ever imagine," he asked them, "that the future of science would look like this?" "Never," Jennifer admitted, watching as a team of Arxian teenagers executed a perfect quantum alignment by treating it like a dance move. "But it's exactly what the galaxy needed." The first speaker nodded sagely. "Your species showed us that we had forgotten the most important part of discovery, the joy of it." In the gaming arena, teams from 100 worlds competed in challenges that pushed the boundaries of both gaming and physics. Quantum racing leagues sent ships through courses that bent reality itself. Strategy games played out across multiple dimensions. Even the classic Earth game Snake had been reimagined with quantum mechanics, creating serpentine patterns that rewrote local spacetime. And now, Katie announced, the moment everyone's been waiting for: the unveiling of this year's new gaming quantum processor, developed jointly by Earth and Confederation scientists. The camera panned to a device that looked suspiciously like a fusion between a gaming console and a lava lamp. Its quantum core pulsed with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. "We call it the Reality Engine X," Admiral Zexthor said proudly. "Though I'm told the X was added because," and I quote, "it sounds cooler." "Quality gaming requires quality naming," Katie agreed solemnly, before breaking into a grin. "Who wants to see what this baby can do?" The demonstration that followed would be talked about for generations. Gaming and science merged into something entirely new, as players from across the galaxy used the device to create shared virtual worlds that operated on principles that transcended traditional physics. "This is humanity's gift to the galaxy," Mason reflected, watching the spectacle. "Not just our technology, but our way of seeing the universe as something to play with, to enjoy, to explore with wonder." Colonel Hayes smiled, and all because Katie couldn't sleep one night and caught an alien transmission. "Hey, I hear they're making that into a game too," Katie called over. Though they had to nerf my character's abilities, apparently being able to rewire alien technology by accident was too overpowered. As laughter filled the station, Earth continued its orbital dance below, no longer hiding its true nature. The planet glowed with quantum energy, a beacon of creativity in the cosmic dark. And in bedrooms, labs, and gaming centers across the galaxy, countless beings were learning the most important lesson humanity had to teach: that the greatest discoveries come not from asking, "How does this work?" but rather, "What happens if I try this?" The universe, it turned out, had just been waiting for someone to press play.